one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to read through the minutes from July 17th?
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion. Okay, Rochelle,
Second.
Don, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Randy, highway.
Okay, starting with buildings, we have a leak in the health center basement. It's being addressed as fast as we possibly can. It's called a backflow preventer valve. And it was installed obviously when the building was new. They no longer make that model. And of course, the company that makes them and that variety changed the distance between flange to flange by only a small amount. We have ordered one today, the closest one to it. The plumbing company that we use is going to come up and replumb the basement. It shouldn't be shut down for long. We're gonna hopefully do it like first thing in the morning so that there's no patrons there. And with limited downtime. But here's the catch, as we always know there's a catch to anything we do over there, is it needs to be inspected after it's done. I have not figured out, they're working on getting scheduling so that the inspector can be there at the same time as the installer or thereabouts, so that he can put his lovely seal on it, because if not, we can't turn the water back on.
Health department.
Well, it's basically the health department, but there's only a certain number of these inspectors certified to inspect this. It's a pressure thing. All it is a check valve.
Yeah.
But it has, the check valve has to work in such a way and it has to be tested. And nobody goes out and gets certified for
This is a
this.
state inspector?
Yeah. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, where, you
Yeah.
know, and he goes, in Albany, there's only 3. I'm like, you want me to get one of those 3 to come up here at the same time you're here? What a racket. Yeah, so it's been very difficult to try to do this. They're getting it, it's got another 4 days supposedly, and then they'll have it in hand. When they have it in hand, I'm gonna try to schedule them and the inspector at the same time. Right now, we have a 5-gallon bucket underneath it and it's dripping into it.
Okay, so there's no damage to any of the supplies or records down there?
No, it's over the other side of the thing. We were down there because we have a boiler inspection coming Thursday, so we went down there to inspect the boiler, make sure everything's up to snuff, and came back with the report that, oh, that other thing that comes through the wall is dripping. So, now, I'm working on that. So it has nothing to do with the boiler, so hopefully everything will be happy there.
There's no way that it's just gonna go.
No, it's, according to certain people, all it is the seal where that valve is just dripping. Eventually, it's going to drip faster,
Let's give it away.
you know, like any other valve. So it's gotta be replaced. We can't work on it. They have to do it, and then a certified inspector has to inspect their work. So, and the icing on the cake was, oh, it's not just take 2 bolts out and put it back in. We have to solder all the different pipes and all that. You know, so it's not a 5-minute slap it in and
Slap
have
some
the inspector there,
tape on
and
it.
everybody goes away.
Slap some Flex Seal tape on it.
I wish, so.
I know, but everything's so complicated.
Exactly, there's nothing simple.
Oh
They
my
built-
goodness.
They built an industrial building, and,
Yeah,
you know, it's a hospital. Well, not really,
yes,
it's a
I
building.
get it, I'm just.
The way they built it, it was governed to be a full-fledged hospital, so.
Wow,
So that was my fun the week before last, basically.
sorry.
Last week, we were all busy changing out the culvert on Fawn Lake Road from FEMA that we purchased the year before. The state made FEMA purchase a 12-foot wide, 4.5-foot replace 2 3-foot culverts. So it was and Don was there to see it. It was an ordeal. The road was never shut down, but it was reduced to 1-lane traffic and so on
Yeah,
and so
pretty
forth.
skinny lane too.
Very skinny lane. And some of the contractors I talked to and were nice enough to stop work over there, so we didn't have a million vehicles going back and forth for construction. But it's changed, it's done. Lenny from Soil and Water has given his good grace that it's installed correctly, so DEC shouldn't be anything. A thank you to the county for letting us borrow their excavator that they had on rent, and Lenny for letting us borrow Soil and Water's dewatering pump. We had our pump on one side and theirs on the other, and kept the hole completely dry.
They're always a help.
So, yes, the county, and I thanked Tracy again today, and he's like, oh, it's no big deal, and I'm like, no, it is.
Yeah.
It would have cost us thousands of dollars, so it is a big deal. Moving on to that, Fish Mountain Road project started today, the bridge, and all the machinery was delivered last week, or some of it, some more is coming tomorrow. They started pounding steel pylons in today, and have already come into a snag. They hit some very large rocks, they assume, underneath, so they are going to tomorrow de-water that and take their excavators and try to dig a great big hole and get all the rocks out, so they can drive these pylons 60 feet in the ground or so.
60?
They're 60-foot pieces of steel that they're pounding in the ground. So it's whether or not to get them all there. I mean, the one that's sitting out there now is probably 12 feet out of the ground. So they said, "Oh, that's normal." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Torch.
Yeah,
Cut them off.
Torch and cut them off.
but imagine that though, they found stones in the other end.
Exactly.
Ledge rock.
Near a stream. Bad. I mean, that's even more bad.
Ledge rock.
I can tell you it's quite noisy.
Yeah, yes, it's not, but it should be done on Wednesday. They're gonna pound again, and it should be done that day. So I thought that was pretty quick, to get it all done in a day. But with that, as I expected, comes a startup bill. So we already knew this was coming and so on and so forth, but the initial bill that I have to submit to the county tomorrow is $198,645. Basically a third of the whole bill.
Bigger shells.
The remainder is 341 and change.
And that should be no problem because they have a checkbook special for that account
Right, when we
up
went out and
there,
got
you're
the
good.
money, we put it aside,
Yeah.
everything was, so all my ducks should be in a row and approved and everything else, so all I need to do is submit this, but it
Yeah.
wasn't.
But that's
You guys know that they didn't start without one of these.
fair amount of money.
Yeah.
They're gonna find that in the sofa.
They bought all the steel, that back in February, the concrete, like
Yeah.
going over to the deck was all poured and delivered, they've been sitting on this since, you know, they accepted the bid, so it's kind of right that once they start, we need the money to pay for
First
it
payment,
back.
of course.
Absolutely.
Kind of knew this was coming. In the past, somewhere along the line, I know I emailed the board, but I want to bring out to the public more so the closing of the access to Sacandaga Lake of the Oxbow snowmobile trail. That landowner has been gracious enough for many years, and now has decided that he has other uses for the property, and there was too much damage to his properties over the last 5 or 10 years, and has decided not to allow us to have the snowmobile trail there. He has notified me, the snowmobile clubs, the sheriff's department, so on and so forth. So, in that I notified DEC, and because it's a corridor trail, and got them in the loop. I had a couple of other plans, I still have one. I know that we're not going to be allowed to put it on state land because state can't cut any trees, so that's out. to, go behind Fish Mountain, or alongside Fish Mountain, I should say. There was Plan B there's two property owners that would join up in Charlie King's pit. There's two property owners from there to the end of Fawn Lake Road if you go alongside the state land. And the first one I went to has now come back to me and said no, because he doesn't want the value of his land to be depreciate because there's a snowmobile trail on it. Because he may sell that piece of property or try to. So that option is gone. And so the very last option that I can see so far is to have the town board approve opening up snowmobile riding alongside Fawn Lake Road from the pit road to the end of Fawn Lake Road, to the dead end. That section, and then we would join the Fawn Lake Trail and go up
Get on that.
Beasley's driveway, per se,
Right.
what we all would call it.
But enter Oxbow through that way.
Yeah, you come off of Sacandaga Lake at Beasley's,
Yeah.
go up a little ways, turn left, go down Fawn Lake Road to the pit road, and then back on the trail. So that is right now, a shoe-in, that is a guaranteed way, because the town road, we can easily
That part, yeah.
allow that.
But
So
the
that-
actual last part on the lake edge, we're good there for Beasley's driveway?
Yeah, that's already snowmobile trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beasley's driveway, that we groom it.
I know we do,
You
I
actually go
just,
up the hill,
we don't,
go down, right? You
No, we
still
don't use that.
We don't do that
We
anymore?
go right next to Beasley's old
Oh,
house.
okay, so I didn't even know that.
Yeah, right between.
Been a while.
Right between the house and whatever the other
Yeah, there's a
thing is.
big
Okay.
piece of
Yeah,
fencing there
Oh, so
to
that's
keep them off
easier.
the well.
the well, right, we
Yeah.
snow fence that in and we go up that way, cause everybody was having trouble with the hill.
Yep.
So I talked to DEC and they said, yeah, it's all right, go on up through. So
Uh-huh.
you use the driveway straight up. And
Nice.
then we would now turn left, put signage there, go up to the end of Fawn Lake Road and then down alongside the road and,
okay.
How many feet of Fawn Lake Road?
what's that?
How many feet of Fawn Lake Road?
I don't know, I have not measured it.
How many private how many,
Houses,
yeah,
so you have, people directly across is Empties, one, you have Levine's area, so that's.
Lots of
say two.
cabin.
Bubel's, that's 3, cross street 4, the new house 5, 6.
okay. And the town plows that road up to
Correct.
the turnaround.
Correct.
And how do we make sure that people aren't being in a hurry on that stretch?
Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's Department.
That's our
Law
only
enforcement.
option?
Yeah, I mean, we can
Unfortunately.
sign it, we can
What
plaster it.
what would
yeah.
you think would be another?
Yeah, this is,
What-
yeah,
Cap, yes,
It's just, I need to,
have her answers.
I don't wanna answer tonight,
no,
That's what I'm
no,
saying, but you're asking him, what options, do you have any other?
Well, the option that I brought up was the trail that had already been walked years ago, that goes up the Fawn Lake Trail and goes around backside of the mountain, and you're telling us that the state won't allow that?
No.
Not
Reason
as a
being
corridor
is,
trail.
we can't cut anything over that.
Okay,
At
so,
this point in
so
time.
you've contacted them and they said no?
Well, I didn't contact them because I already know that on no state land, you can't cut.
I just wondered if that plan, which had been considered years ago, was ever approved.
No,
So
even
don't
if
we-
it was, they still can't cut it.
Don't we have to worry about mileage as well?
Well, yeah,
Certain
there's-
mileage cap?
There is a mileage cap on corridor trails, and then that would probably weigh into that whole thing, and somebody would scream bloody murder that we can't fund it. And then they're saying, then there would be the battle of, wait a minute, it's a corridor trail, why are you not funding it?
Right.
But more so importantly, I know they won't allow us, I mean, I can make a phone call, that's not a problem. We have months here, a few, seem to be going by fast, but they won't allow any cutting on state land for any kind of trails.
No.
I mean, I have to getting last year to cut trees to put a bridge in, that they already approved the bridge, but the tree was in the way. I'm like, you gotta be kidding.
At the-
Okay, I'm just wondering if
at the
years ago,
approaches.
that was a done deal.
But, more on to Kathy's, questioning line. I'm pretty sure there's not, but is there any speed limit signs right in that area of Fawn Lake Road?
I know there is coming down the hill at the intersection of Tamarack and Fawn,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
before that. No.
I mean, one of the ways to
The technical
control
speed
this-
of that road is 40 miles an hour.
That's what I'm saying, one of the ways we can, if we opt to use the road as the new corridor trail, and obviously we need a corridor trail,
Mhm.
is to also set a speed limit on that, and that would be for, make distinction between snowmobile and cars, it's all 20 miles an hour.
Right.
That it lowers the volume of those sleds immediately.
Right.
Now, again, it still comes back to the same answer, Sheriff's Patrol.
Right,
But
sheriffs,
we need to be
DEC,
proactive.
Everybody else, we need them to start writing tickets.
Right.
Um,
Be proactive on making them good neighbors
yeah,
as those 5 or 6, some of them aren't there in winter,
Yeah.
might be put off by the fact that, hey, when did this happen? And, I didn't hear.
Yeah,
they were
and
gonna
why
change
did it happen? Well, let's
Well,
not
the
do
why
it,
is-
do it, but what I'm saying is the offenses, unless they are, the garbage, the trail, the destruction, I mean, could just shift from one location to another. So you're right, it goes back to checking.
It's enforcement, it's always enforcement, but you have to have rules in place first for the sheriffs and the deputies to
right,
work
you have
on.
to give them a leg to work off of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but, anybody who's been at this for a while, you, me, him, if I've been in people's homes dozens of times trying to get them to sign off on a new change of, usually because of timbering or whatever. And every time it's, well, we have this state thing, you hold harmless, but most folks are like, well, that was fine a couple years ago, but they woke the baby. They knocked over my post box, there's inconsiderate players in the mix, and we can't, we have to get out in front of it.
Quite frankly, that one, the inconsiderates are the darker hours of the evening. And I am
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah,
that has a lot to do with what went on in certain areas of that.
like I said, walk the baby, I mean, that was like a current, and the sleds keep getting more whacked to them, and, and it gets more of that.
And we tried really hard for how many
Of course.
years to make it right for the property owner. You guys went down and put up fences, you tried to keep everybody
Sure.
where
We
they're
moved
supposed to
stuff out of the
be.
way.
You did
Keeping the
everything you
corridor,
could,
and
for
that
how
little
many
corridor.
Put
years?
it all back in the springtime,
Yep.
and we tried, and
Yes.
that owner even said, you've done everything you can, but you can't fix them.
And beyond
And
that,
I'm tired of them.
most of the time, it's,
Where
I
we're at.
sold to someone else, and the someone else is not nearly as empathetic, maybe they're not riders, maybe, but, so it's a, corrective things are constant in this game. Mainly because we need private property or timber property to be the good neighbors, because the state's the worst one. I mean, that's just, never said.
Right now, as she knows, there's a trail somewhere in the plan that goes around this whole scenario.
Yep.
And it would have been a nice little trail.
10 years ago, if that trail had been put in, but the state put a big kibosh to it back then.
Of course.
And now they're even more strict with
Maybe.
this lawsuit going on. So we're,
Yeah, we're at the mercy of this, and every tree's important and so on, and that's great, but then they'll come by and tell you, or the people who are managing these, geez, these approaches to these bridges they're unsafe. Well, you know how you make them safer, is you widen them out at both sides.
Right.
Well, but, we just
Can't
gotta
do
pray
that.
for the trees to die, because you can't
Right.
cut them. It's preposterous.
Can I ask
I
a
think,
question?
Nancy wants-
Go ahead.
Is the town liable for a snowmobile accident on a town road?
no, it's just like any other
It's-
motor vehicle
Car,
accident.
a car on the
Car.
road.
They have insurance, they have to be responsible. But we're gonna do everything we can, as Kathy already said, we plow that road, we make it safe, but I think we need to limit the speed. And I don't think anyone who's there in winter is gonna have any problem with coming out to the main at 20 miles an hour, you know? It's probably all they do now.
What's the procedure for changing the speed limit?
Changing the speed limit,
You gotta ask the state.
Yeah.
State police actually.
yeah, and we may be able to do a seasonal
Right,
speed limit change.
yeah,
And that would do it more easily
much
than-
quicker, much quicker.
And much quicker.
Does that take as long as most of the stuff that you deal with the state, or is that a fairly quick process?
I would, I'm not gonna answer that question.
Suffice it to say, Don, just like the seasonal postings,
Yeah, there's probably 3 people in Albany that.
it just
say
goes
it.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the town board, you know, resolves to do that as a seasonal approach to what, as Randy says, it's coming quick, I mean, it's months, but
Yeah, we have months, but
but
months turn in
plans,
real fast.
plans
and
need to
then
be
soon
crafted
as
now.
the first snowflake flies,
Right.
if we don't have a plan in, this room will probably be full.
Can that be made kind of like Downey Ave and stuff where they can ride on the shoulder if the snowbank is groomed flat?
There's no snowbank on that road because there's a complete drop off on the right hand side.
Yeah.
And the left hand side is a
Big
embankment.
ditch, yeah.
So there is no
So
snowbank
you
on that
can't-
road. We plow every inch of that road, pushing it all winter long. It's one of those that we just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So there is no way, they're gonna ride on asphalt. That's all there is to it.
It's a short time, it's a short
They
period.
do this in Inlet,
Yeah.
all in Old
Do that.
Forge. I talked to Sean, you know, it's, yeah, it's the typical plowing stinks because people pack it down and when you're not there, they ride the bank, they knock the bank down, the bank gets warm on the sunny days and it hardens as ice. So now the wing is bouncing and so on and so forth. But I go, it's a matter of, I'm gonna guess 1,000 feet,
Yeah.
2,000 feet, you know,
It's a
guessing.
quarter, it's a quarter mile. It's a quarter mile.
Yeah.
What does it do to the longevity of the quality of the road?
Well, depending on how, I mean, you see Page Street, we paved that 2-3 years ago, and you can see, there's no bump there yet, but there's markings where they concentrate crossing onto that.
Yeah, just like when they cross them at the village,
Right.
that
But-
just gets chewed right up.
Right, but that's a concentrated area where, I mean, I don't know, it's,
And you wouldn't have to run a groomer down
no.
to connect.
No,
The
it's plowed.
Pleasant Riders would turn around at
That
that end, and we turn around at the other end.
only.
Right, so there's no groomers going up and down it, so the picks won't be
Yeah,
digging
it's-
in or nothing
it's
like
bad,
that.
yeah.
So, that wouldn't change, it wouldn't change our mileage for state, any for grooming, you know, wouldn't have to submit different things like that, but, there would be change of trails and all the maps, and there's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Randy,
this.
is this, are you waiting to hear from the, all of the powers to be that you've let know about this change?
The only one I'm going to wait for is I'm gonna call DEC again
Okay.
and see what's down the, you know, like what they're looking
Right.
at. And then there's no other landowner situation because the houses are stacked in there.
Do you feel comfortable, my reason for asking, do you feel comfortable in waiting till the next meeting?
Yes,
For me
Yes.
to,
Yes.
to move this? To
and then we
this
can,
in-
I can get
discussion?
answers from DEC and let you guys know.
Very good.
And I can, you know, get into with NYSSA, the speed limit situation.
Yeah.
This is not the first time for them either.
Seasonal, I mean, if seasonal signage, we need it, we put them up.
Right,
Right.
More information would be very helpful
And then
before
we have
we
to,
move.
you know, once we do this, mapping is an ordeal because
Yeah.
there's all these companies now that put them on phones that they have to
Yeah,
be
there's
notified.
all sorts of apps. We usually have our map at
October,
the end
November.
of September
Oh,
for the
September.
snowmobile show, so,
Yeah.
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah,
so we do have to move
we're
for the
on,
next meeting.
we're on pace.
Gotta move
We gotta,
along.
we have to have a solution.
Yeah, the mapping is gonna be a crunch time.
Yeah.
Cause also I'm also like, obviously parks now. Cause most of these sites get them from parks,
Mhm.
the map. And supposedly, back in April, supposed to put it in my map. Any trail changes, but that's not gonna happen. so.
Okay.
So the next thing on snowmobile trails, that was just number one. Number two is Perkins Clearing. I have been notified, not in a meeting, but through DEC and then through Lime Timber, that they want to shut down Perkins Clearing again this year. The same that they did last year. The beginning 2 miles of Perkins Clearing Road and then Mud Lake Road, all the way out to the intersection. For 60 acres of trees that they want to cut, and so on and so forth. Now this comes, I'll give you a little insight of why I'm a little perturbed at this. Neil's seen this before, where they come and say, yes, yes, and then they change their mind in November, December, wherever. Well, last year they changed their mind in March. And I had a bypass trail all groomed and working, and we know we had a limited year last year for getting around this closure. And then they decided to take skidders right up the bypass trail, right after we got that last snowstorm, which would have been our last 2 weeks of riding, the best riding.
Right. Always the best.
And they destroyed, and I do say destroyed because I was on a snowmobile when I saw it, my snowmobile with a group of people, and I was floored to come over the hill, and here sits a skidder with a full hitch of logs going down the trail. And that extremely set me off, and I went to maybe 5 intersections up and found the DEC guys from Northville sitting there on their snowmobiles and the green suits. And I said, can you please go down there and tell them to get off the marked corridor trail with their skidders? And they commenced to tell me that there was really nothing they could do. And they would go talk to them. Well, it didn't happen. And we had mud from one end of that trail to the other for the rest of the season. We quit grooming it because there was no way we could drive through the mud with the groomer. It just, you know. And now this year, they come to me like it never happened when I mentioned it. And no, that trail is fine, all they did is cross it in 1 or 2 spots. Well, I said, no, you guys wrecked it, and you know, now you're gonna own up to it, and yet you're coming to me and saying, we're gonna do it again this year. And one of his statements was, well, every spring we're looking for places to log.
Much like spring in March around here yet.
Right. And I know it may have been a bad year for snowmobiles, a bad year for logging, but you know, we gotta deal with what you got. And going back on what you're, you know, destroying our stuff just to make your better is not really there. So the other option we have is, and it's entirely something to think about at this point, is we say that Perkins Clearing Road, the town road, from December 15th to April 1 is closed to vehicle traffic. It is snowmobile only. And that would set Lime Timber off, don't get me wrong, because that would lock them out of all their land for the whole winter. Do I want to do that? Neil?
No, there's someplace in
We
between
gotta give
here.
a tappy pole here somewhere.
Right, there's somewhere in
Neil remembers
between
when
here.
they tried this little stunt with me.
Sure do.
The first year over the Mason Lake thing, and they ended up willing to fly bridge materials in and everything else in order to get the Mason Lake Trail up to snuff. Right now, the DEC is offering an excavator if need be. And I'm like, okay, but I haven't even been back there because they're logging it right now
Sure.
on that side of it. So I don't wanna put 1 ounce of town money out again if they're gonna mess it up. I said it to Betsy this morning, thoroughly still disgusted with them destroying that trail last year and not thinking anything of it. When they had the Perkins Clearing Road for the whole winter. You know?
Yeah.
They
Yeah, I
just-
mean, this is, you know, all of this stems back to the conservation easement swaps, and it's all gonna be so good for recreation, except it usually isn't.
Right,
And you got to have some sympathetic ear, at least when we had the offices over here on Elliott, or, you know, down behind camp. If you could talk to someone now, you're talking to folks that are a state away or two. It's difficult, and I don't think we can swing that leverage without DEC in the room.
Right.
You know, backing us up.
Yeah, obviously, we gotta go back to when I started way back when, us all sitting in one room,
So,
talking about it.
yeah,
Because this whole, well, we'll just do this and do that, over the phone call, no.
No,
We
but-
need everybody to acknowledge that this map that you're handing me is all you're going to do.
the people at the table have to be aware of the fact that the town would, in order to protect the commerce here and snowmobile, as important as it is, the town would close the access if we had to.
Right.
They have to be sure of that before I think they'll maybe come to a more reasonable solution.
So what I am going to propose is the snowmobile or parks, whatever committee, be there when we set up a meeting with Lime Timber and DEC. Because
I'm retired.
I don't know when I can get the
Meet the
meeting.
campsite.
You may have to leave the campsite to come back down, but he'll be there.
I heard through the rumor mill that they had one already and they're having another one today sometime.
They,
With DEC and Lime Timber to discuss things. I think that's why Brister Brook parking lot was fixed, but I'm not 100% sure of that either.
well, throw your hat in there.
Yeah. I'm
We'll
gonna
be
have to-
happy to be there.
Stir the pot a little bit
Yeah.
and get them all in the same room. It seems like they're thinking they can just, with a heavy hand, tell us what to do.
Well, you know, they're a business, and we're all about business, that's great, but we have to be, you know, compatible. We have to be sympathetic to each other's plight. Souping up the trail when it's starting to get that way,
Right.
with big rigs, it's just not being neighborly.
Yeah, and then souping up Perkins Clearing Road too, when it's a
Right,
limited use highway.
right,
Mhm.
certainly is.
The only other thing I have is in committee reports, so.
Okay. Okay. So now we'll go to old business, the Nathan Latour Clinic contract. Neil and I met and made a few changes after our last meeting. We sent them to Patrice. She responded with our requests last Friday. They've agreed to make the changes that we've asked for. So tomorrow I will get back to her to let her know to go ahead and get it done in the contract for the clinic. And hopefully we'll be able to, the next meeting, agree and be done with it, sign the contract, and we're set for 2 more years on that. We basically were just asking for better clarification on a few things in the contract. Some things were kind of outdated and didn't really pertain to the way it's being run, or anything in the medical field these days is being run. So we just needed a few things kind of clarified and broken down for the contract. That was that. Community garden, the fence was ordered, it's been paid for. We purchased it from Millbrook Fence Company out of Dover Plains, New York. They gave us a great deal. We have to thank June Burkholt's family. They made this happen and they are working out how they're gonna get that fence up here. So a big thank you to her and her family for spending all this time and all this effort to get this done. Once the fence comes, we are gonna wait until September, till the gardens are pretty much done before we get a group together. But we'll need a small machine in there, and lots of volunteers to get this fence up. One other thing that June was asking, if anyone has access to compost or knows anybody that would be willing to donate some, or possibly some topsoil. The one garden that the school uses to grow and donate to the food pantry, that garden, that soil is just kind of, when you look at that garden and how it's producing compared to the others, it's dead. So we need to kind of, we need to get
More
some
enriched.
better nutrients in that soil to get things to grow better. So if anybody knows anything or has anything, just let us know, that would be great. Historical Society, the new shed is in place. We had planned it working at Route 66, repainting last Friday, but we got rained out. So we have to reschedule, I don't know when, because it sounds like it's rained quite a bit this week again. And we'll be painting, so it has to be kind of really dry to paint, and then it has to be dry for a day or two. So if anybody is interested, to please call, either let us know. Kathy, Neil, myself, Lorraine Hassel have all volunteered. And if anybody else wants to volunteer to help, just let us know, so when we reschedule, we can let you know when. I do have a letter here from the Historical Society they wanted me to read. Dear Betsy, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your continued support of the Speculator Lake Pleasant Historical Society. We are most appreciative of the work performed by Randy Lavarnway and his men for moving our old shed and for constructing a level stone pad for our new one. The new shed is in place and we are looking forward to storing our historical artifacts in a secure, solid, weather-tight building. Again, sincerely, thank you, Sally Cross, President. I thought that was very nice.
She's very effective too.
And she is, she's wonderful, she really is. They're doing a great job.
A lot of work.
Yes, next thing,
Can I just interrupt
Sure.
on the Historical Society? Betsy's not the only one selling tickets for the foundation fundraiser run by Christine. Oh, you too? Oh my
we all
gosh.
have.
Chris needs all the help she can get. She
No, I
has
understand.
busted her
She
behind for
is
this
busting her
project.
butt, and the little thermometer keeps going up just a little bit.
So I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit here, because that was towards the end, but, so if you haven't gotten a ticket for the next round of drawings that benefit the Museum Foundation project, please contact Chris Meixner. The next round starts this Thursday, the 10th. Again, you have 9 weeks of 3 drawings per week to win money. And the 10th week, you have 4 chances to win. And just a huge thank you to Chris for all her hard work and dedicated countless hours helping this project to reach its goal, which we are now up to $34,016.
Well, contact Chris or me.
Or me.
Or me.
Or
Rochelle. I also saw today, she was out in front of Charlie John's. She had a table set up and she was selling tickets too, so.
She's been to the Music on the
Point.
Point.
Yeah,
She's really working hard.
she's dogged for this foundation.
Yeah, I just don't want, I hope it doesn't take too long that the price goes way up either. Okay, next is the cybersecurity. I had mentioned it at the last meeting. So after discussing it with Steve Sawn, our insurance agent, he does recommend that we do get our own policy. He is checking into the cost, so I will send that information to everyone once I do receive it. Cybersecurity, even though I spoke to the county and they have us covered up there, there is still what they call a third-party issue, which is if there is a problem at county level and we don't have our own policy, we would or could be liable if hacked. It could be a big issue. So I'll let you know when I hear more about that. Under new business, all I have is the Consolidated Health District. Our annual meeting for the Consolidated Health District Board is scheduled for August 22nd, which at that time we will be looking to approve the 2024 budget. And the committee consists of the Mayor Jeanette Barrett, Carla Darrow, Cindy Rumsey, Carrie Ann, and myself. So that's it on that. So next we're to committee reports. So we'll go ahead and start with you because we know you have something.
Well, the highway committee had a meeting, amongst a couple other things. Simplest was first aid kits in some of the vehicles, not all of the vehicles. We will be ordering them. The equipment, let's per se, the pickup trucks, not so much. It's the ones that go out in the woods and so on and so forth that are away from everybody. The groomers, the stuff like that, the backhoe. The dump trucks maybe, was going to be more than just Band-Aids though. It's going to be a pretty big box. Because what we had last time, and they're still stacked in the office, are the little things, and they came with 4 Band-Aids, and by the time those 4 Band-Aids are gone, the rest of the box is useless.
Useless.
You know, so it's, you know, to so on and so forth that we talked about that.
Yeah.
The big reason I asked for a meeting, well, the other was the corner of this building that was hit last year in plow season. We are planning on putting a vinyl patch in it, AKA a outlet cover, that vinyl cover that's not cut out. The melted spot over on the other corner of the building, when the flower pot is spontaneously combusted, I guess you could call it.
Fertilizer bomb.
Yeah, fertilizer bomb, at the point in time, because of the fading and everything else, rather than doing most of that corner, they were hence planting flowers and such, so that it's not visible, and if you don't point it out, it's really not visible, especially now that the flower beds are there. So that's the past stuff that was going on. The newest thing going on is the backhoe is giving us some major discrepancies. The computer problems, we've been fighting for a couple of years now. We've, over the past couple of years, probably spent $4,000 or $5,000. It's $1,200 for the guy to show up. He looks at the codes, he says, well, some of these codes are non-existent, as in they're not in the book, so they're fake codes, ghost codes they're calling them, is the terminology. The machine at this point in time, some days takes over an hour to start. We're unhooking batteries, we're doing this, doing that, it's all computer issues. The Thursday before last Thursday, it's quit on them 14 times in the course of a day of work. Dan was marking it down because he quit being able to remember how many times. And each time it's taking 20 minutes to half an hour to get it started again. Today we tore into the electronics and stuff, and Donnie came back with, I can't find anything wrong with it. He took off computers, he's looking for corrosion and such. In the meantime, the salesman that came last November said, in the course of us calling them and such, gave us a price of $41,000 on trade for such a vehicle, which we paid $100,000 with all the broom, all the attachments, forks and all that, which would all still be good for if we were to replace the vehicle. Not saying we're up to that point yet, but I called him back. He adjusted from last February, March price to now price. He listened to what I had to say about certain things that we had problems with. We had our meeting. I said I need to talk to some people that already own it so that we know if we're getting back into the same fiasco of a backhoe that fighting electronics. And he's working on getting them because he's brand new per se. He hasn't sold one of those, that exact model.
Troublesome there, but.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, so you're brand new to this company, and yep. So he's doing some research, but the very next day he calls me up and says, if you don't mind, I'd like to bring you one of those backhoes so you can use it for a week.
And I'm sure your answer would be sure.
And it was,
Yeah.
and it showed up on Friday.
I saw it there. But
Took a look at it.
For no uncertain terms, I wanted to see if it was bigger, if it's smaller, if it's this, if it's that, so we don't get into the situation of.
and that the takeoffs and the hookups are
Right.
right for.
In doing that, we realized that it's the same size as the backhoe that we got rid of, which was bigger.
The old
than
Deere.
The old Deere, and which is a plus. The other plus, there's a lot of feature crunch, things, it's plain Jane. There's not a button for this and a button for that. It's a lever for this and a lever for that.
Think the
It's
guys
got
can
a
help
regular
with that?
standard shift transmission. It doesn't have all the hydrostatic crap and everything else that always, on this one that we
Yeah, for
had,
going down the road.
breaks down.
Yeah.
It's really the plain Jane, yes, it has heat and it has air conditioning, but if you wanna unlock the boom, there's a lever for it. It's not a button or nothing like that. It's,
You can fix the lever.
yeah, and a cable.
But
It's
as you
stuff like
know,
that.
the reason that we hope to elicit from them, from Case, some of the, within 100, 200 miles of us, some of the customers who have bought some of these things, nothing like having it in front of you, that's great. But we didn't want them to have a whole lot of interaction with those folks when we spoke to them.
Correct.
I don't see what the problem is in them telling us. It's not like we're gonna go in the backhoe business and,
Yeah.
sell one to them. We would just like to know the unvarnished
Yeah.
opinions of
I wanna
folks
be able to
that.
talk to them.
Yeah, because this one we
One-on-one
bought,
and get
I
the-
mean, we
get
bought
the
it when I was
skinny.
there,
Right.
that it doesn't have all these goblins in
Yeah.
the electronics.
We were sold this one, as the saying the man said, was the Swiss Army knife of backhoe.
Oh, the best thing since sliced bread, I
Yeah.
remember it was.
Oh, yeah, this was the salesman, the old salesman sold us.
Imagine
this
that.
thing.
And you fell for it.
I didn't.
A previous board of supervisors, who will remain nameless,
Okay, this was BR before Randy.
before,
Yeah.
be hard.
And Betsy.
Yeah, that's it.
Wait,
And then that.
wait a minute. Betsy was on the top board.
Was I?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I wasn't? I thought it was maybe the year or two I wasn't.
No, it was.
So
during
needless
our
to
time.
say, when it showed up today, we were all, going over it and comparing, put them side by side.
Yeah.
We already have one large difficulty with it, which makes it a no-go if they can't figure this out, is by what we're looking at, you can't put a hydraulic thumb on it. Because the extended boom slides
Okay.
inside the other boom.
Okay, I got you now.
So if one slides over the other one, you can put a thumb on that, but this one slides inside it. And there's no way
So
to
you haven't-
attach the
you haven't had a
cylinder that
chance to
runs the
speak-
thumb.
speak
And
to
I
that
called the
salesman
salesperson
yet?
up,
Oh, yeah.
and he's like, oh, I never thought of that. I'm like, well, it's a no-go if we can't pick up brush and rocks, that's what we do.
Right. You gotta have the
And
thumb.
I gotta have yeah. So he's gonna get back to me and
Oh, you have the attachment,
Right.
and if it won't work on the power.
right, so it's definitely a no-go with that situation.
Mhm.
So, like I said.
Keep working on
We
that.
had a committee report, we
Yeah.
got many more miles to go on this.
Well, you did a lot of good work here, I mean, the stuff about the leasing
Yeah,
options
and
and
then we
what
talked
that would
about
cost us
leasing
and how
and
to
so
break
on
it
and so
down.
forth, and they got me all that information.
Good.
Because I'm sure he just pawned that off on his secretary to get it. to
Because they wanna sell backhoes.
Right.
That's what they do.
But, the fundamental part of it, and I wanted to talk to references.
Yeah, let's see.
Because right now, if
See what he
someone
comes up
calls
with
me
with
and asks me
those.
for that case, that model that we have now, I would fill their ears full of things to run away
Yeah,
from.
you'd be honest, and hopefully if we talk to other superintendents at upstate New York, they'd be the same.
Right.
The salesman is looking for the customers.
People, he's trying to get me some I asked for 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
Is he looking for favorable reviews?
Well, that's what,
or-
we don't want him to filter that.
I don't know,
Is he filtering? Yeah.
I can't out of the blue on the computer find anybody that, I was on there this morning talking, discussing about the thumb, and as I was talking to him, I'm on the computer, and I can't even find, goods, bads, there's not a forum on it.
You're a good
there's not-
Facebook detective, I'm sure.
Usually there's a forum for every machine out there, if somebody's got something to say about it.
Maybe we're the only ones that bought one.
We haven't yet.
Oh, I can't even reach it.
So, that's my report, where we stand at this
Not
point.
possible to call other dealers just to kind of feel them out, like you're looking to buy blah, 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 blah,
Right.
and
I'm
Is
sure other
that-
dealers are gonna,
Well, we're trying to stay in a price point that's not John Deere. That's,
Right.
we went to the
Right.
case because
if we go
we
to a
had good
different company
reviews
here,
and
the
cheap.
scenario with that, not saying that we were in, kind of like we jumped in both hands, both feet with this company because of the attachments.
Right,
We have the broom,
right,
we have the forks, we
Thumb.
have,
the
the
thumb.
thumb,
yeah.
the sloping bucket,
Mhm.
and they only fit case tractors. So we're kind of tied at that, because if you go, that's why we didn't buy a John Deere last time, is because this one for the same price came with all those gizmos, where the John Deere came with a bare bones tractor.
It's coming to me now, we're blaming it on Leo. I
Okay,
believe that's,
okay.
Okay, so moving right along,
I have one question
Don?
to ask, and I'm sure it's gonna get shot down. But is a fixed thumb on it, what you can pull down?
That's still not an option either,
Nope.
more like a bar,
because where that bar attaches, we'd have to move up and,
Okay.
into the cab.
you can imagine 2 square pieces of stock, one slides in the other, you can't attach something to that.
Yeah, no,
Have it
just,
slide up
just
in
a
there.
question, you
Yeah.
know.
John Deere doesn't have that problem.
Oh,
Uh,
jeez.
Correct.
Okay, so moving along, Don, committee reports, anything else?
It's already been taken care of.
You're done, okay. Neil?
Randy's taking all the thunder.
So you're done.
I guess so.
Should've
Okay,
done it
Michelle?
first.
We've gotten good reports from Samantha about Youth Rec. We did have another snafu again with transportation for a trip. But they did pivot and they decided to explore the Sacandaga pathway, went down and played basketball, so
good,
it was,
good,
yeah, they
good.
had a good fun day. And they went to Camp Store, which was a hit, they did mini golf
Big
and gem mining and,
Like
shaved
diamonds.
ice and, yeah, so it was good. I
That's the biggest
enjoy supporting local businesses, it's, and then this next week we have water safari and,
And then the end of year party.
yes, which they are making plans for that right now. And I think that's all I have.
Well, so far, always
And
ahead.
year party. Okay. You guys have done a really good job with this, and Samantha, the three of you together have really done a great job. This has been like the best year for Youth Rec with different things that they're doing.
I'm gonna be very interested to see the splits with the towns, to see, you know, how the mix went.
Okay. Now, will you gals be meeting with the ones from Arietta? The four of you having like a meeting to sit and talk and figure all that out, or not really?
Well, we did
or-
beforehand.
Yeah,
Beforehand, and all the kids from both towns got the information, so there was no, this is a town of Lake Pleasant thing, and Arietta is welcome, and then build up, no, it was the two groups together, and that was all settled ahead of time. But I'd like to see, you know, what kind of mix,
there was.
yeah,
Good.
keep
Okay.
my fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
Good job. Okay, did you have anything, Steph?
No, okay.
Okay. Okay, so next is, I'm looking for a motion to pay the bills. We have three abstracts. One is dated July 25th, one is dated July 27th, and one is dated August 3rd. Do we want to just do all three together?
No objection, I move all three together.
Okay,
And I will second.
okay, discussion.
Discussion, I had a question about a bill from H&M Equipment, a glass assembly, handle,
So the rear window, while we were mowing the roadside, obviously something
The
came
tractor.
off the mower and took out the back window of the tractor.
got it,
And then
yeah, it happened,
glad the window was there to slow the object down and not go in the back of Andy's head.
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's put it
Right.
that way. And we stopped mowing until
It
we
was
got the new one.
repaired. Yeah.
Good.
That's why Clay
Yeah.
came up and mowed roadside for us for one day, and then we got the glass and continued on.
Just gotta say, the shared services between the towns and the county is
Very good.
unbelievable.
Very good.
wonderful.
As the years are going on, it's getting better.
Yeah, it's definitely getting better.
Absolutely. Good job. Okay, anything else, Kathy?
No,
Rochelle, Don, Neil, anything else? Okay,
No.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, next is public comment. Nancy?
The library is doing a fundraiser, Quackapalooza, on August 16th. And I'm sure if you come into the library, they're selling ducks, $5 each, or a quack pack of 6 ducks for $25. And they will be going off the bridge in Speculator and down the river.
well, we're working that out, we're gonna see just where we can chuck the ducks from and
You're right,
and make
right.
sure they float down the river and not.
So, any help anybody would like to give for that would be greatly appreciated.
Well, I'm sure I could help. I just, since we don't know the specifics there, is there like a winning?
Oh, yes, the first prize is $100,
Two.
second is $75, and $50 for third.
And where are these ducks going?
They're gonna go down the river. from,
They're not going far.
No.
I'm gonna be there in a kayak with a net to make.
Oh, no, I was like, you wanna go to the first
No.
dam and just
No,
collect them?
no,
or-
we're not going to the dock. I
Getting
mean,
all the way down to, hey, it ain't happening.
we don't want this to be, we don't want the ducks in the weeds and there's beaver
Yeah,
dams.
okay.
We're gonna let them
Yeah,
go.
they're not
We're,
going
Ducks are not getting to duck bank.
no, they're not.
I
We're
was
well aware.
Thinking about the sewer treatment plant, see
Yeah.
how it's gonna work out.
August 16th.
Well, it's too bad you couldn't do it over the bridge down here between the lakes and that channel.
Yeah,
we had talked.
damn
about
beavers,
We talked about that.
damn beavers.
It was just a thought.
So,
It's
It's
the
not like one
first
of these
year of
rack where
it.
you buy
You put there's a variety of ducks in a little kiddie pool right now. And there's a big mama duck that lets you choose the duck you want when you pay, and there's a number at the bottom of your duck, and that's.
so you don't buy a raffle ticket, have to write your name on the bottom
No,
of the
the
duck.
ducks are all
That's a
numbered,
pain.
and there's a master sheet with,
There's a sheet and, yeah, and there's a person who's a big duck. And there, if you'd like to buy tickets, they're gonna be at the Point on Wednesday night, I believe, and you can also get them here.
Well, I'm excited.
Anything else, Nancy?
Nope.
Duck, duck, goose.
Anybody else? Public comment? No? Okay. Okay. Roundtable, Don, anything?
Nothing tonight.
Neil?
Just a couple of things. It's not quite finished, but I've been up and down, maybe a lot of you have too, I'm sure. I've been up and down Route 30 an awful lot in the last month or two, and I very much appreciate the new Route 30. They have been, in many cases, absent. They're like not there, sort of stealth, and yet things have been done. You know, different times of the day or whatever. And now little dashes, I ran to Northville today, they're coming along, and it is a pleasure to, I know we waited 3 years, and I probably bitched as much as anyone, but boy, what a great job by the contractors, and tipping our hat to DOT. The other is Friday is Family Fun Day at the Speculator Pavilion, and don't ask me details, you probably know more about it.
I know a little bit about it.
Okay, well, I just know about it because I had volunteered early on when I first saw it on Facebook, and I never heard back from them. Then yesterday at the wedding, Robin Housley said, "Boy, you're really gonna be a hit in that dunking booth." I'm like, wait, what? I was not apprised.
So everybody bring your cash.
So still another fundraiser of some kind at the Family Fun Day, I'm sure. I will be there for whatever they plan to do with me, but it's 2:00 Friday this. That's all I got. boss.
at the pavilion?
At the pavilion. There, the environs in that area, yeah. Fun will be had, I'm sure.
That would be fun. Okay, Rochelle?
I'll be there.
The only thing I have is just, I emailed you guys about it already, but I wanted to let everybody know, Reserve America was contacted, and the Moffat's Beach and Lily Lake pages have been fixed, so that statement is not there that they're closing Labor Day.
I heard a rumor too that they're thinking about leaving Durant open too.
Oh.
Really?
This
Because
is
they
just-
haven't been open
It's just a
Through
rumor that they're gonna.
Labor Day in a long time, have they? Were they open last year?
I don't know, this is just a rumor that I heard today.
Well, I'll see what I can find out, but that would be great.
Okay, Kathy?
Two things are Wednesday.
Nothing?
No, I've been doing lots of little things, but nothing that,
Okay. You're always doing things. Okay. Stephanie, anything?
For a roundtable. No, Kathy and I talked earlier today, we've gotta go back in the minutes and just make sure that the price was set for the STR. Because October 1st through the 31st is when they get to apply, and we've had calls already, and people have stopped by to get things.
Can't do it yet.
And we let them know that, it's in the process of going through the state. It's not set in stone yet, but also, it's gotta be in that window, right?
Because we are starting to get calls. I got a couple today too.
Really?
Yep.
Good.
that's
They want to
good.
know how to register, how to get the application.
Nice to see
So I
people
have told them I'd call them back.
anxious to comply.
Being proactive, yes.
Yeah.
So I'll work with you.
Just can't
and
do it
figure
yet.
that out.
Yeah, and Steve needs to be in this loop as well.
Yes, absolutely, yep.
course.
Okay, so next I just want to mention that Randy, Stephanie and I met with Steve Stone, our insurance agent for Nymer last week in preparation for our 23-24 contract policy. Our next meeting, Jody Small and Josh from the County Treasurer's Office will be here attending to discuss the two programs, the KVS, which is now Springbrook, we currently have, and we're comparing that to the Tyler system that the county has. You each got an estimate tonight. I'm asking you to take them home and go through them for the next 2 weeks. If you have questions, write them down. They'll be here to give information and answer any questions so that we're all on the same page. We thought that would be the best way to handle that.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. It's
Okay.
nice to have,
Okay, next, we had a problem with actually two of our RO systems. One, Bill took care of about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. The other one, I got a call on Sunday. The homeowner had no water, so I called Bill after talking to the homeowner, and then I had Bill converse with him because the homeowner had his own personal plumber come in thinking it was their problem because they had no water coming out of the faucets. Which it ended up to be, no, it's before the RO system, so it's our problem. So I told Bill to go ahead and get the parts, and he went up there today and got it fixed, so you will see a bill in the next bill pay. It's gonna be over $700. We had to replace a repressurization pump in the tank, so that's where we stand with that one.
We've had that before.
Huh?
We've had that before.
Have we?
Not in that place, but yes.
Okay. Next, we had a couple of phone calls from someone that came into the office about our tennis court hours. Had phone calls, someone's come in. There seems to be concerns between some of the folks that use the courts because the pickleballers are not supposed to start till 10:30. They're starting at 10 o'clock, coming in, setting up, and the frames of the nets are metal, so when they hit the ground, they're clanking. And when you play tennis, people were playing tennis, they were not able to concentrate because the pickleballers were conversing and making noise, and you have to be able to hear the tennis ball hit the court. So I explained to this lady, this is something that they need to work out themselves. We are not going to be policing our tennis courts. There seems to be a lot of issues, but I really believe they're working it out. There is one big group of pickleballers. It's not them. It's a smaller group of pickleballers that comes at another time.
Splinter group.
So we are not getting involved. I just want everybody to be aware that any calls or anybody that's come in to see me, I've explained this, and it's open to the public, and they have to work this out.
We have
That's
to
a
learn
nice-
to
There's a
share.
sign up there that gives the times, and we're not going any further.
No, Betsy and I happened to be in the office today that just came in, and I did, making sure all the people you spoke with were adults, right?
Yeah.
So the thought process here is, there's the courts, there's the signs, work it out among yourselves.
yeah, we all agreed to the rules
Right,
last year.
Right.
I mean, if it gets, super heated, the sheriff's right there. But, I mean, I don't get this. I just,
So I'm just gonna quickly mention also, I got a call from a fella that met with the US Tennis Association and Karen McComb and myself last year. They were hearing rumors that we're not going to be doing the tennis courts on Elm Lake Road, which that is not out of the picture at this point. And I explained to this individual, there's only one person that goes around that does these estimates in New York State. So he is still planning on coming to give us an estimate. And well, these folks said that Camp of the Woods last year had their tennis courts redone and it only cost them $15,000. And since we put $15,000 away a year in our reserve fund, would we be willing to do that this year? I explained to him, we put $5,000 away a year in the reserve fund, we are up to $15,000, but until Elm Lake Road, till we know that that is a dead issue, we cannot do anything different. So I told him I'd keep him in the loop, but at this time, we also can't just take it upon ourselves to be doing construction work up at the county building in midsummer when you have court and everything else going on. It's a busy place. So you know, we have to work with all parties involved. So for now, everybody's happy. So that's the tennis courts.
God bless you, Betsy.
And as I said, hey, listen, you were a witness, because Randy and I meet each morning, and Steve and I meet each morning to talk over our schedules and what's going on. And a fella came in the door, because he just wanted to say thank you to us. And it's so nice to hear someone
There
say,
you go.
thank you.
Was he a
When you
pickleballer
join
or
the
a tennis player?
In the smaller group or the
So anyway,
splinter?
also want to mention that I have a card up here, I think everybody signed it, for Elmina Baker. Her birthday, her 100th birthday is Friday.
That's,
For those of you that didn't know Al Miner, she was the first woman in New York State to hold the position of chairman of the Democratic Party. Yes. Al Miner held this position for 40-plus years. And I want to thank, even though Shorty's not here tonight, for calling me to let me know so I could run and get a card. So I will mail the card out tomorrow. So if someone didn't sign it, you're welcome to sign it.
this is our friend Mary's mom.
Yep. And we already handled that. So our next meeting is August 21st at 7 PM here at the library, and I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I shall
A second,
to adjourn.
I'll second.
and all in favor.
Hi.
Thank you for coming.
Very nice, Betsy. So, I did my